Hey, welcome. Do you ever get that feeling of déjà vu at work, where you're tackling the exact same problem you thought you solved last month? Well, today we're going to put on our detective hats. We're going to learn how to look right past the obvious symptoms and hunt down the real culprits behind those annoying, recurring issues. Seriously, why does this happen? It's that one workflow that always breaks, those delays that are somehow always a surprise, or that customer complaint that just will not go away. It is so frustrating, and it can really feel like you're just spinning your wheels, not getting anywhere. So here's the thing. Most of the time, it's because we're just putting a band-aid on the symptom instead of curing the actual disease. The real secret to making a problem go away for good is to dig deeper. You've got to find the root cause. Let's see how this works in our first case. All right, our first investigation takes us into the HR department. They're dealing with a classic issue, a real bottleneck that's actually slowing down the entire company. Let's open up the case file. Here's the mission should you choose to accept it. The company cannot hire people fast enough. Good candidates are getting other offers and dropping out, and managers are getting super frustrated. Our job is to figure out exactly where this whole process is falling apart. Okay, so every good detective starts with the evidence. And for us, that means data. This table here shows us exactly how long candidates are spending in each stage of the hiring process. And wow, these numbers are our first big clue. They're pointing to some serious delays in a couple of spots. But where do we even start? To figure that out, we're going to use our first detective tool, the Pareto chart. Now, this is based on a really cool concept called the 80-20 rule. The basic idea is that for a lot of things in life, roughly 80% of the problems come from only 20% of the causes. This chart helps us laser focus on that vital few. And bam! Here's what our data tells us when we plot it out. The answer is just staring us in the face. Look at how tall those two bars are compared to everything else. Almost all of the delay is coming from just two areas: interview scheduling and delays in making the final offer. Awesome. We've identified our two main suspects. But a good detective never stops there. Knowing what is wrong is only half the puzzle. We now have to figure out the much more important question: why? Why are these things happening? And for this, we get to pull out our next tool. It's called a cause and effect diagram. Some people call it a fishbone diagram because of how it looks. It's a fantastic way to brainstorm and visually map out all the potential reasons a problem might exist. So let's take interview scheduling delays. We ask, why are they so hard to coordinate? Well, because hiring managers have very limited availability. Okay, but why? Because their calendars are totally jammed with internal meetings. See how we're digging? By asking why over and over, we get past the symptom and closer to the real root cause. It's not just people are busy, it's that they have conflicting priorities. For example, maybe a manager has a goal to cut travel costs, so they're trying to line up all their interviews for one day. That solves their problem, sure, but it creates a massive bottleneck for everyone else. That is the real culprit we were looking for. Okay, case closed on that one. Let's open up a new file. Now that we've seen how to find a problem's true source, let's look at how to actually roll out a fix without causing a new disaster. This time, we're heading over to the finance department. Here's the new situation. The company is always paying its suppliers late, and that's not good. It's damaging relationships and hurting the business's reputation. Our job is to design a better way and make sure our solution actually works. So after some brainstorming, the team comes up with a great idea. A new automated system that's going to streamline the whole invoice approval and payment process. Sounds like a perfect fix, right? Problem solved. But hold on a second. Just launching our brand new system can be really risky. What if it has bugs? What if nobody knows how to use it properly? Or what if it accidentally pays the wrong person or the wrong amount? A fantastic idea can turn into a total nightmare if we don't think ahead. This is where our final detective tool comes into play. It's called FMEA, which stands for Failure Mode and Effects Analysis. The best way to think about it is like a pre-mortem. It's a really smart, structured way to imagine everything that could possibly go wrong before it actually does. Here's basically how it works. The team gets together and lists out all the potential ways this new system could fail, like, say, the system misreads an invoice. Then they think about the effect of that failure, like an incorrect payment goes out. And finally, they give it a risk score. This process forces you to see your biggest risks up front so you can plan for them. So, with that risk analysis in hand, you don't just flip the switch and launch the new system for everyone all at once. No way. You follow a much smarter process. You design a small pilot plan, you test it out on a small scale with maybe just a few friendly vendors, and then you measure the results and refine it. This lets you work out all the kinks before it becomes a company-wide problem. So, we've cracked two cases today, from digging down to a problem's root cause, all the way to safely putting a solution in place. And these tools, they're not just for giant corporations. They're for anyone, anywhere, who wants to solve problems for good instead of just patching them up over and over. Let's do a quick recap of the tools you now have in your detective kit. 1. Always look past the surface-level symptoms to find the real root cause. 2. Use data with a Pareto chart to focus on the biggest fish. 3. Use a cause and effect diagram to really understand why it's happening. And 4. Use an FMEA to think about risks before you jump into action. And here's the most important point of all. Those problems that feel so complex and frustrating, they aren't impossible. When you have a structured way to look at them, they stop being these big, scary messes, and they turn into interesting, solvable puzzles. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's one reoccurring symptom in your world, at work or even at home, that you keep putting a Band-Aid on? Maybe it's finally time to put on your detective hat and go find its root cause.